Hello friends, welcome to Quick Revision series. Today we are going to start chapter number 9. It is financial management. In this chapter we are going to learn about concept, role and objectives of financial management, financial decisions, capital structure, fixed and working capital and factors affecting their requirements. Finance is needed at every stage of a business entity. Finance is essential for running business. Success of business depends on how well finance is invested in assets and operation and how timely and cheaply the finance are arranged. Finance is needed to establish a business, to run it, to expand it, to diversify it, for buying various assets. Availability of adequate finance is very important for the survival and growth of business. Now let's see financial management. Financial management is concerned with optimal procurement as well as usage of finance. Financial management aims to reducing the cost of funds procured and keeping the risk under control and achieving effective deployment of such funds. It also aims at ensuring availability of enough funds whenever required as well as avoiding idle finance. Next is role of financial management. Financial statements are affected directly or indirectly through some of the financial management decisions like the size and composition of fixed assets of the business. It is depending on capital budgeting decision which is related with long-term investment decision, means large size business needs more fixed assets. Next is the quantum of current assets and its breakup into cash, inventory and receivables. The quantum of current assets is also influenced by financial management decisions. Decision about credit given to customer, inventory management affect the amount of debtors and inventory as well as their composition. So, more liberal credit policy needs more investment in current assets. Next is the amount of long-term and short-term funds to be used. Financial management decisions also affect the proportion of long-term and short-term funds used in organization. If organization wanting to have a more liquidity would raise more long-term funds, there is a choice between profitability and liquidity because current liability cost less than long-term liabilities, means its use will increase the profit. Next is breakup of long-term financing into debt and equity. Financial management decisions also affect the proportion of debt and equity funds used in business. It decides how much owner's fund to be used and how much borrow fund to be used in organization. And the last one is all items in profit and loss statement like interest, expense and depreciation. Higher debt means higher interest you have to pay. Higher equity means higher dividend you have to pay. Similarly, large size business have a more expenses also. So, all items in profit and loss account are affected by financial management decision. At last, we can say overall financial health is depending on the quality of its financial management in the organization. Next is objectives of financial management. The primary aim of financial management is to maximize the wealth of shareholders or owners. Next is it try to procure the finance at lower cost and invest it in projects giving higher returns. All financial decisions are taken in such a way which increase the price of equity shares in stock market. Now let's see financial decisions. Financial management is concerned with investing, financing and dividend, means investment decision, financing decision and dividend decision. Let's see first investment decision. The investment decisions are related with how firms' funds are invested in different assets. Investment decision can be long term, which is known as capital budgeting decision, or short term, which is known as working capital decision. Earning capacity of business is affected by long term investment decision because it is related with long term investment, which means investment in fixed assets. Liquidity as well as profitability is affected by short term investment decision, which includes efficient cash, inventory and receivable management. Now let's see factors affecting capital budgeting decision. There are certain factors which affect capital budgeting decision like cash flow of the project, rate of return and investment criteria involved. Let's see first cash flow of the project. Investment decision generates cash flow over a period in form of receipts and payments over a life of an investment. But here the amount of cash flow should be carefully analyzed before taking investment decision. Next is rate of return. This is the most important important criteria of investment decision. Here, proper calculations of expected returns and risk involved in each project is done, and project giving higher return and less risky is selected. Last one is the investment criteria involved. The decision to invest in particular project involved number of calculations regarding amount of investment, interest rate, cash flow, rate of return. Different techniques are used to evaluate each proposal before selection. Now let's see second decision. It is financing decision. It is concerned with the decisions about how much finance to be raised and from which source. This decision determines overall cost of capital and financial risk of the enterprise. Here, financial manager decides how much owner fund to be used and how much borrow fund to be used in investment. Different finance options are available like debentures, loans, equity shares, preference share, retained earnings are there. But remember, debt is a cheaper source of finance because its interest is reducing tax liability of the organization. Now let's see factors affecting financing decision. There are different factors which are affecting financing decision like cost, risk, flotation cost, cash flow position of the company, fixed operating cost, control consideration, and last is state of capital market. Let's see first cost. The cost of raising funds through different sources are different. From this point of view, manager always prefers cheapest source of finance. Next is a risk. Risk associated with each of the source is different, like debentures have a different type of risk and equity have a different type of risk for the organization. Next is a flotation cost. Cost of raising fund is called flotation cost. Higher flotation cost, less attractive source. Next is a cash flow position of the company. A strong cash flow position can go for the debt financing, otherwise equity is the best option. Next is a fixed operating cost. Fixed operating cost includes fixed expenses of the organization like building rent, salaries, insurance premium, etc. For the higher fixed operating cost, equity is the best option, and for the lower fixed operating cost, they can use debt financing for the investment. Next is a control consideration. Issue of more equity means sharing control with others, but in debt there is no need to share control. Companies afraid of takeover would prefer debt for the investment. Last one is state of capital market. Health of capital market also affecting the choice of source of fund. In rising market, equity is better option because more people are ready to invest in the equity, and in depressed market, borrow fund is better option. Now last decision is dividend decision. The third important decision that every financial manager has to take is related to distribution of dividend. Dividend means portion of profit which is distributed to shareholders. It is related with how much earned profit to be distributed and how much should be retained in business. Remember, retained earning increase the firm's future earning capacity. Now let's see factors affecting dividend decision. Dividend decision is affected by many factors like amounts of earnings, stability of dividend, growth opportunities, cash flow position, shareholders preference, taxation policy, stock market reaction, access to capital market, legal constraint, and last one is contractual constraints. Let's see first one, amount of earnings. Dividends are paid out of current and past earnings, therefore earnings is a major determinant of decision about dividend. Next is stability of earning. The companies having stable earning is able to declare higher dividends, and a company having unstable earning is likely to pay smaller dividend. Next is stability of dividend. Companies generally follow the policy of stabilizing dividend per share. Amount of dividend is not altered due to small or temporary increase in earnings. Next is growth opportunities. Companies having good growth opportunities retain more money out of their earnings to reinvest in the business, so less dividend is distributed than companies having less growth opportunities. Next is cash flow position. The payment of dividend involves an outflow of cash, so availability of enough cash in the company is necessary for the declaration of dividend. Next is shareholders preference. While declaring dividend, management must keep in mind the preference of shareholders. If shareholders in general desire that at least certain amount is to be paid as dividend, the company should declare. There are some shareholders who depends upon a regular income from their investment. Next is a taxation policy. A dividend distribution tax is levied on company but the dividends are tax-free in hands of shareholders. If tax on dividend is higher, it is better to pay less dividend, but if tax is lower, it is better to pay higher dividend. Next is a stock market reaction. It is one of the important factor of dividend decision because increase in dividend increase the share prices of the company in the stock market, and decrease in dividend have a negative impact on the share prices in the stock market. Next is access to capital market. Large and reputed companies have easy access to capital market, so they may less depends on retained earnings for their growth. These companies tend to pay higher dividends, and smaller companies who have low access may pay lower dividend. Next is legal constraints. Companies Act puts some restrictions on payouts as dividend. Such provisions must be followed while declaring the dividend. Last one is contractual constraints. While granting loans to a company, sometimes the lender or bank may impose certain restrictions on the payment of dividend in future. The companies are required to follow such restrictions in this regard. Now let's see financial planning. The process of estimating funds requirement of a business and specifying the source of funds is called financial planning. It includes short-term plan for a 1 year or less called budget, and long-term plan which focuses on capital expenditure programs. Financial planning ensures enough funds should be available at right time, and it begins with sales forecast, on the basis of which financial statements are prepared, and on that basis funds requirements are estimated. But remember, financial planning is not substitute of financial management. Financial management aims at choosing best investment and financing alternatives by focusing on their cost and benefits. Its objective is to increase shareholders' wealth, and financial planning aims at a smooth operation of organization by focusing on funds requirement and their availability in the light of financing decision. Now let's see objectives of financial planning. First is to ensure availability of funds whenever required. It includes a proper estimation of funds required for different purposes. Financial planning also tries to specify possible sources of these funds. Next is to see that firm does not raise unnecessary resources. Excess funding is not good for any organization. Even if there is some surplus money, financial planning would put it to best possible use. Now let's see importance of financial planning. First is it helps in forecasting what may happen in future under different business situations. Preparation of different financial plans are required for different situations for smooth functioning of business. Next is it helps in avoiding business shocks and surprises and helps the company in preparing for the future. Next is it helps in coordinating various business functions like sales and production by providing clear policy and procedures. Next is it reduces the waste and duplication of efforts and gaps in planning. Next is it tries to link present with future. Next is it provides link between investment and financing decision on a continuous basis, and the last is it makes evaluation of actual performance easier. Now let's see capital structure. An ideal capital structure increases shareholders' wealth. It means mix between owners and borrowed funds, which includes equity and debt used in organization. It affects both profitability and financial risk. Both have a different cost and risk for the firm. Like debt is a less costly but more risky for the business and gives fixed return to investors. Interest on debt is deductible as an expense for the computation of tax liability, and dividends given to equity shareholders are paid out of profit after tax. Debt is a cheaper but more risky because compulsion on payment of interest and principal amount. Higher use of debt increases the fixed financial charges of the business and increase financial risk of the company. Financial risk means chance of firm to fail to fulfill its payment obligations. A capital structure in which the proportion of equity and debt is maintained in such a way that results in increasing shareholders' wealth. The proportion of debt in overall capital is also called leverage. As financial leverage increases, the cost of funds declines and financial risk increases. The impact of financial leverage on profitability can be seen through earning per share, that is EPS. Now let's see how changes in debt change the earning per share, that is EPS. There are only two possibilities. First is when return on investment is greater than interest rate, and second is when return on investment is less than interest rate. Let's see first when return on investment is greater than interest rate with the help of example. Here you can see in example 1, total fund requirement is 30 lakh rupees, interest rate is 10%, tax rate is 30%, and earning before interest and tax is 4 lakh rupees. Three situations are there. In first situation, zero debt is there, no borrowing amount is there. Second situation, the borrowing amount is 10 lakh rupees, and third situation, borrowing amount is 20 lakh rupees. Okay, so if we want to calculate the return on investment, the rate of return on investment, 4 lakh divided by 30 lakh into 100. So here you can see return on investment is 13.33% if you calculate, and interest rate is 10%. That's why you can see it's a first situation when return on investment is greater than interest rate. So now see the analysis with the help of this table. First is you have to show the profit before interest and tax, 4 lakh in all situation. Then interest. In first situation, interest amount is 0 because there is no borrowing. In second situation, it's 1 lakh rupees because our borrowing is 10 lakh rupees and its 10% is 1 lakh rupees. In second situation, it is 2 lakh rupees. Afterwards, the amount is there. You can see the calculation. If you deduct the interest, in first situation, earning before tax is 4 lakh. In second situation, it is 3 lakh, and the last situation, it is 2 lakh. Then we have to deduct the tax. It is 30%. In first situation, tax is 1,20,000, then second 90,000, and third is 60,000. Okay, so the 30% of 2 lakh is 60,000, 30% of 1 lakh is 90,000, and 30% of 4 lakh is 1,20,000. Now earning after tax, you can see 2,80,000, 2,10,000, and 1,40,000. Now here it is assumed that number of shares is rupees 10 per share. So in first case, total fund is 30 lakh. So the shares total shares are 3 lakh here. In second situation, our borrowing is 10 lakh, so our equity is 20 lakh, so 2 lakh share is there. In third situation, our borrowing is 20 lakh rupees, so our equity is only 10 lakh, that's why 1 lakh share is there. Now afterward, EPS, how do you have to calculate EPS? Earning after tax divided by number of shares. So in first situation, you can see it's 0.93, then it is increasing 1.05, and then another afterwards also increasing. It is a 1.40 per share, rupees 1.40 per share. So in this situation, you can see when we are increasing our borrowings, our EPS is also increasing. So the conclusion is that when the return on investment is greater than interest rate, if you increase the borrowings, your EPS will be increased. Now let's understand the second situation when return on investment is less than interest rate. So we have taken the same example, but we have just reduced the profit amount. Now profit is only 2 lakh rupees and every other thing is same in the example. So here when you calculate the return on investment, it is 2 lakh divided by 30,000 into 100. The answer is 6.67%. So you can see here return on investment is less than interest rate because interest rate is 10%. You can see in the table in situation 1, profit is same, 2 lakh, 2 lakh, 2 lakh. In second, interest, when we deduct the interest, in first situation no borrowing is there, so nil, and in second 1 lakh, and third 2 lakh is there. Earning before tax is 2 lakh in first situation, in second situation it is 1 lakh, and in third situation you can see our whole profit is used to pay the interest only, so there is no profit in third situation. Now you can see the tax amount. In first situation 30% of 2 lakh is 60,000, in second situation it is 30,000, in third situation no tax you have to pay. Earning after tax is 1,40,000 in first situation, in second situation it is 70,000, in third it's 0. Now number of shares, in first situation it is 3 lakh, 2 lakh and 1 lakh. So here you can see in first situation 0.47 and in second 0.35 and in third nil is there. So here you can see our EPS is decreasing in every situation. So when you increase the borrowing amount, your EPS is decreasing. So the conclusion is that when return on investment is less than interest rate, if you increase the borrowing amount, your EPS will be decreased, your earning will be decreased per share. Now let's see factors affecting choice of capital structure. Choice of capital structure is related with deciding proportion of various types of funds, that is the equity and borrowings. It is affected by many factors like cash flow position, interest coverage ratio, debt service coverage ratio, return on investment, cost of debt, tax rate, cost of equity, flotation cost, risk consideration, flexibility, control, regulatory framework, stock market condition, and last one is capital structure of other companies. Now let's see first point, cash flow position. Cash flow must be seen before borrowing. Company must be able to pay cash for the normal business operation, for the investment in fixed asset, for the payment of debt related expenses like interest and principal capital. If you have a good and regular cash flow, you can use the debt or borrowings in your capital structure, otherwise equity is best. Next is interest coverage ratio. It is showing number of times earning before interest and tax of a company covers the interest obligation. Its formula is like this: earning before interest and tax divided by interest. Higher ratio of a firm shows lower risk in failing to pay its interest payment obligation. A firm may have a high earning before interest and tax but low cash balance. Apart from interest, other repayment obligations are also relevant. So if you have a high interest coverage ratio, you can use the borrowings in your capital structure, otherwise capital equity is best for you. Next is debt service coverage ratio. Its short form is DSCR. It is removing deficiency of interest coverage ratio. Its formula is like profit after tax plus depreciation plus interest plus non-cash expense divided by preference dividend plus interest and plus other repayment obligations. The upper part is showing total cash generated during the year and bottom part is showing total cash required for the service of debt and preference share capital. A higher ratio shows the better ability to meet the cash commitment and consequently company can increase the debt in its capital structure. Next is return on investment. A firm having higher return on investment can choose to use trading on equity to increase its earning per share. Its ability to use debt is greater. Return on investment is an important determinant of company's ability to use trading on equity and thus the capital structure. Next is a cost of debt, means the interest rate at which the firm is able to borrow money. If firm is able to borrow the money at a lower rate of interest, more debt can be used. Next is tax rate. Since interest is deductible expense, cost of debt is affected by tax rate. Higher tax rate makes debt relatively cheaper and increase its attraction. Next is cost of equity. Stock owners expect more returns when company increase debt because it is increasing the financial risk of shareholders. That's why debt can be used only up to a particular level. Next is flotation cost. Cost of raising fund is called flotation cost. Flotation cost of equity is more than flotation cost of debt, so it is also affecting the choice between debt and equity. Next is risk consideration. As I told you before, debt increase the financial risk. Another is business operating risk, which is depending upon fixed operating cost of a firm. Higher fixed operating cost means higher business risk, and the total risk of the business is depending upon both of them, financial risk as well as business operating risk. Lower risk shows higher capacity to use that in capital structure. Next is flexibility. If a firm uses its potential to the full, it loses the flexibility to issue further debt. To maintain a flexibility, it must be maintain some borrowing power to take care of unforeseen circumstances in future. Next is control. Debt normally does not cause a dilution of control, but a public issue shares control with others, which makes company vulnerable to take over. So this factor also affect the choice between debt and equity. Who wants full control can go for debt. Next is regulatory framework. Every company operates within a regulatory framework provided by the law, like public issue of shares and debentures have to be made under SEBI guidelines, and raising funds from banks and other financial institutions also required to fulfill of other norms. So this factor also affect the choice of a source of fund. Next is stock market condition. If stock markets are bulling or rising, equity shares are more easily sold even at a higher price in the market. So use of equity is more preferred by companies in such situation. However, during the bearish phase or recession period, it is difficult to sell the equity in the stock market. So it is also one of the affecting factor of a choice of capital structure. And the last one is capital structure of other companies. A useful guideline in capital structure planning is debt equity ratio of other companies in the same industry. Therefore, there are some industry norms which is also helping in this regard to choose the capital structure of an organization. Now let's see fixed capital and working capital. Every company is required to invest in fixed assets and current assets. To invest in fixed assets, fixed capital is required, and to invest in current assets, working capital is required. Let's see first fixed capital. Fixed assets are those which remain in business for more than 1 year, usually for much longer time, like plant, machinery, furniture, land, building, vehicles, etc. Decision to invest in fixed assets must be taken very carefully as the investment is usually quite large. Now let's see why management of fixed capital or capital budgeting decisions are important. They are important because of 4 reasons. First is it is required for the long-term growth of the organization. Next is it is related with large amount of funds. Third is the risk involved in it is very high. And the last is these decisions are irreversible decisions. Now let's see first long-term growth. Investment in fixed assets increases the profitability of the organization, which contributes in growth of the company, and this will affect the future prospects of the business. Second is a large amount of funds involved. Large portion of the capital funds are invested in fixed assets, so detailed analysis is required before the investment, like rate of interest and other terms. Next is risk involved. Fixed capital involves investment of huge amount and affects the returns of the firm as whole in long term, and overall business risk is also depending on fixed capital investment. Last one is irreversible decision. These decisions should be taken only after carefully evaluating each detail of the investment. Otherwise, adverse financial consequences may be resulting in very heavy losses for the organization. Now let's see factors affecting requirement of fixed capital. Requirement of fixed capital is depending on many factors like nature of business, scale of operation, choice of technique, technology upgradation, growth prospects, diversification, financing alternatives, and last one is level of collaboration. Now let's see first nature of business. It is most important factor which decides investment required in fixed assets, like a trading concern requires less investment in fixed assets in comparison to manufacturing organization. Next is a scale of operation. Large organization operating at higher scale needs bigger plant, more space, and requires higher investment in fixed asset in comparison to small organization. Next is a choice of technique. Some organizations are capital intensive where other are labor intensive. A capital intensive organization requires higher investment in plant and machinery, and obviously investment in fixed capital is also higher. Whereas labor intensive organization requires less investment in fixed assets, therefore their fixed capital requirement is also lower. Next is technology upgradation. In some industries, assets become outdated sooner, consequently their replacement become due faster. So higher amount is invested in fixed assets, like IT sector is updated faster than other industries, so required higher fixed capital investment. Next is growth prospects. Higher growth of an organization generally requires higher investment in fixed assets, even when such a growth is expected in future. Then large investment in fixed assets and consequently large fixed capital is required. Next is diversification. Diversification increases fixed capital requirement of any organization, like a textile company also starting manufacturing of a footwear and cosmetic items. Obviously, its investment in fixed capital will increase. Next is financing alternatives. When asset is taken on lease, the firm pays lease rental and uses the asset. Here the firm avoids huge amount required to purchase it, so it reduces the funds required to be invested in fixed assets. Such a strategy is especially suitable in high risk line business. Last one is level of collaboration. Collaboration reduces the level of investment in fixed asset for each one of them participating in the organization. Like bank may use ATM facility of other banks so they can reduce their fixed capital requirements. Now let's see working capital. Working capital is required for smooth day-to-day operations of the business. Current assets are usually more liquid but contribute less to the profits than fixed assets. Current assets includes cash and bank balance, bills receivable, debtors, investment in marketable security, closing stock, etc. Current assets are those assets which get converted into cash within 1 year. More liquid assets convert into cash quicker and without reduction in their value. Now current liabilities. Current liabilities are those payment obligations which are due for the payment within 1 year. It includes bills payable, creditors, outstanding expenses and advances. Net working capital's formula is net working capital is equals to current assets minus current liabilities. Now let's see factors affecting requirement of working capital. Requirement of working capital is affected by many factors like nature of business, scale of operation, business cycle, seasonal factor, production cycle, credit allowed, credit availed, operating efficiency, availability of material, growth prospects, level of competition, and last one is inflation. Now let's see first point, nature of business. Manufacturing organization need more working capital than trading organization because there is no processing on raw material. In service industry also usually do not have to maintain any inventory, so requirement of working capital is also less. Next is scale of operation. Higher scale of operation means higher inventory, higher debtor, so large amount of working capital is required in comparison to lower scale organization. Next is business cycle. Different phases of business cycle affect the requirement of working capital by a firm. In boom period, sales and production is high, so working capital requirement is also high. In depression period, sales and production will be low, so requirement of working capital is also less. Next is seasonal factor. In peak season, higher level of activities are there, so large amount of working capital is required. In weak season, level of activity is low, so requirement of working capital is also less. Next is production cycle. The production cycle means the time gap between receipt of raw material and their conversion into finished good is called production cycle. Longer cycle requires higher amount of working capital in comparison to organization having short production cycle. Next is credit allowed. Different firms have different credit terms for their customers. It depends on a competition level and credit worthiness of their customers. A liberal credit policy requires higher amount of working capital because of higher debtors. Next is credit availed. Opposite of credit allowed is credit availed, means credit available from the supplier to organization. Longer period of credit on a purchase reduces the requirement of working capital. Next is operating efficiency. Better operating efficiency means higher inventory turnover ratio, better debtor turnover ratio, and better sales efforts, which reduces average time for which finished goods inventory is held by organization. Such a efficiency reduces the level of raw materials, finished goods and debtors, resulting in lower requirement of working capital. Next is availability of raw materials. If raw material is freely and continuously available, less working capital is required because no need to maintain large stock, and time gap between placement of order and actual receipt of material is also relevant. It is called time lead. Larger time lead requires more working capital. Next is growth prospects. If growth possibility is higher, the organization requires large amount of working capital to meet higher production and sales target whenever required. Next is level of competition. Higher level of competition may require large amount of working capital to maintain larger stocks of finished goods to meet the urgent requirement of customers. Next is level of competition. Higher level of competition may require large amount of working capital to maintain large stocks of finished goods to meet urgent orders from customers. Competition may also force the firm to use liberal credit policy, which increases the requirement of working capital. Now last one is inflation. With rising prices, larger amounts are required to maintain constant volume of production and sales, so working capital requirement of a business becomes higher with the higher rate of inflation. But remember, if inflation rate is 5%, it does not mean that every component of working capital is also changed by the same percentage, but it is depending on the price change in different components like raw material, finished goods and labor cost.